The jungle had no memory, but it had instinct. And tonight it shivered. Above the canopy, stars blinked in the velvet blackness. Crickets buzzed, frogs croaked, and somewhere far off, something howled. It was just past midnight when the sky split open like a wound. A streak of fire tore through the heavens, trailing smoke and fury, screaming toward Earth. It wasn't a shooting star. It wasn't a meteor. It was something else, something made. 3 figures moved like ghosts through the underbrush, silent and sharp-eyed. Veteran killers, alien hunters. They had been tracking odd signals all week, electromagnetic surges, aerial anomalies, thermal bursts from nowhere. The locals whispered of flames in the sky and giants in the forest, their voices trembling with superstition. Rourke led the trio, a man carved from war, his jawline sharp as a hatchet, his eyes colder than steel. Beside him, Vega, lean and lethal, ex-Spec Ops with a scar that ran from temple to cheek like a bolt of lightning. Behind them lumbered Yui, broad-shouldered, paranoid, and never far from the trigger. They crested a muddy hill just as a fireball crashed into the jungle below. The impact was deafening, an eruption of light and sound that knocked birds from the trees and sent a shockwave racing through the soil. A column of smoke rose, thick and black, illuminated by the flames licking the broken treetops. The jungle was burning, and in the center of the inferno, something moved. Rourke raised his rifle. "Let's move. Stay sharp." The 3 descended into the hellish glow like hunters stalking a god. The crater was fresh, smoking, jagged like a wound in the earth. Trees had been snapped in half, some still burning, others toppled like dominoes. The air reeked of ozone, fuel, and something else, something chemical, metallic, and wrong. In the middle of it all sat the wreckage, or what was left of it. It was no ordinary craft. Sleek and angular, like a weaponized insect, its black surface shimmered with a strange iridescence. Wires sparked, panels hissed, strange symbols etched into its sides glowed faintly red, pulsing like a dying heartbeat. Vega whistled. "That's no drone. And it ain't ours." "Alien?" Yui asked, already pulling a radiation sensor from his belt. "Could be tech," Rourke muttered, eyes narrowed. "Could be Black Ops. Either way, it's hot." "No signs of an energy core," Yui said, frowning. "But it's leaking something." They circled the wreckage like wolves. Every instinct screamed danger, but curiosity dug deeper. Salvage like this? Worth millions, maybe billions, or maybe their lives. Then Vega froze. "Movement," she hissed. Something stirred amid the wreckage. Sparks flew. Metal groaned. Then a hand reached out. A human hand, or something shaped like one. It gripped the edge of the mangled hull and pulled. Slowly, agonizingly, a figure emerged. Smoke curled around him like a cloak. He stood over 6 feet, barefoot, his body a mass of burns and tattered fabric. His skin was blackened, melted in places, revealing glimpses of gleaming metal beneath. Wires ran along his arms like veins. His hair was matted with ash. But what struck them most were his eyes. They glowed, not a soft blue or artificial green. No, amber, burning, unblinking, focused. The man stumbled forward, swaying as if disoriented. He looked damaged, broken, but alive. "Identify yourself." Rourke barked, rifle trained on the figure. No response. Just those eyes. The man took a single step forward. "Hold it," Vega warned, raising her own weapon. Still no reply. Then he moved again, another slow, deliberate step. That was enough. Crack! Rourke fired. Crack, crack. Vega followed. Crack, crack, crack. Yui emptied half his clip before the body even hit the date. Smoke coiled from their muzzles. The man, if he was a man, collapsed face down in the mud, unmoving. Silence reclaimed the jungle. Birds didn't sing. Leaves didn't rustle. Even the fire dimmed, as if watching. Vega exhaled slowly. He was gonna charge us. "Wasn't gonna take that chance," Rourke muttered. "Too clean. Too wrong." Something about his face, Yui added, eyes twitching, didn't look right, like it wasn't finished. The 3 approached the body cautiously, rifles still raised. Rourke reached first, kneeling beside the corpse. The flesh was steaming, the scent of burning synthetic fabric and scorched skin thick in the air. Then he grabbed the arm and turned it over. "What in the name of hell?" he breathed. Beneath the torn sleeve, instead of muscle, there were braided wires, fiber optic lines glistening with strange fluids. Patches of artificial flesh had peeled away, revealing subdermal plating. The chest wasn't rising. No breath, no heartbeat, just twitching, like something half alive. "Not human," Rourke said. "Not anymore." "Think it's a drone?" Vega asked, her voice low, wary. "Could be biotech," Yoi offered. "Grew the tissue over a skeleton, like those DARPA models." "Those were never deployed," Rourke said. "And this ain't military. Not ours, anyway." Suddenly, the body jerked. All three stepped back, weapons raised. Its eyes snapped open. Amber, still burning, still watching. For a second, only a second, the jungle stood still. Then it moved. The thing surged upward with impossible speed. In one fluid, serpentine motion, it grabbed Vega's rifle by the barrel and crushed it in one hand, the steel shrieking like tortured metal. She screamed, stumbling back. Rourke fired again, point blank. The bullet struck the creature in the chest. It didn't flinch. Instead, it turned, slowly, to face him, and smiled. Yoi shouted something in Russian, firing wildly, but the bullets barely slowed it. It moved like smoke, not fast, but precise, slipping between angles, avoiding the kill shots, predicting their aim before they pulled the trigger. The jungle became chaos. Gunfire echoed like thunder. Leaves exploded. Branches snapped. Then it disappeared into the trees. Gone. Silence. Vega fell to her knees, gasping, hands trembling. What the hell was that? Rourke stared into the dark where it had vanished. Something that didn't want to be found. "No. Something that wants to be followed," Yui muttered. They stood there in the glow of the burning wreckage, shaken and unsure. The body hadn't been dead, and it definitely hadn't been human. Rourke finally spoke. "We put something down that doesn't belong to this world." Vega looked at him. "Then what is it?" Rourke's jaw tightened. "I don't know," he said, his voice low. "But I don't think we just shot a man." He turned toward the jungle, eyes grim. "I think we just woke up something built to survive the end of the world." The jungle held its breath. The flames still flickered behind them, a dying heartbeat in the shadows, while smoke curled through the trees like ghosts looking for a home. The distant crackling of fire was the only sound left, save the shallow, shaken breaths of the living. The three stood still, weapons raised, eyes wild. He was dead. He had to be. The thing had taken 3 full clips, direct hits from high-caliber rounds, and gone down, hard, face first into the steaming earth. No pulse, no breath, no sign of life. The jungle had swallowed the echoes of violence like it always did, quickly and without ceremony. But something still felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. Rourke moved first. He approached the body slowly, methodically, like he was walking into a minefield. Every step squelching the churned, wet soil, the crater now more gray than crash site. His rifle was up, eyes trained on the back of the figure lying in the date, unmoving, face buried in the mud and ash. "You sure it's dead?" Vega asked from behind him, her voice a low whisper, barely audible over the distant crackle of embers. "No," Rourke muttered. "That's a problem." He crouched beside the body and flipped it over. The thing's face was half gone, not from the gunfire, but from design. Beneath the scorched skin, thin metal plates gleamed like bone. One cheek was torn open, revealing strands of synthetic muscle fiber. A gaping wound in its side pulsed faintly, leaking not blood but a black, viscous gel that hissed as it touched air. Rourke looked down at the chest. No rise, no full, but the skin, it twitched. Small, subtle contractions, like static dancing under the surface. "Jesus," Vega whispered, stepping closer. "What is it?" "Not a drone," Rourke said. "No signal emitter. No chassis tag. Looks human outside, but the internals," he shook his head. "It's built, not born." Yui joined them, still breathing hard. This is why I don't like this job. Since when do you like any job? Vega shot back. Rourke ignored them both. He reached down and slid a knife from his belt, jamming it carefully into one of the gashes in the thing's torso. The blade scraped metal. He pried it open. A sliver of the interior showed a glimpse of something worse than expected. Not circuitry, not batteries or cooling systems, but something organic wrapped around machine. Glistening tissues merged with wires. Gears lubricated by what looked like blood. Jesus, he muttered. Then the eyes opened. Amber, alive, and filled with rage. The movement was inhuman. One moment the thing was prone. The next it was upright, rising without effort like gravity had no claim on it. The ground beneath its feet cracked. Smoke swirled around it like armor. Vega stumbled back, raising her pistol. Too late. It struck her in the chest, not with a fist, but with an open palm. The impact sounded like a car crash. She flew backward, slammed into a tree, and dropped like a bag of broken bones. Her rifle clattered away. She didn't move. Yui screamed and opened fire, shouting in Russian, the barrel of his weapon glowing red. The thing didn't dodge. It walked through the bullets. The rounds tore chunks from its body, sparks, black fluid, bits of shredded sin flesh, but it didn't slow. It reached out, grabbed the barrel of Yui's rifle mid-burst, and twisted. The metal screamed and snapped. The weapon bent like a wet stick. Then the thing threw it, and Yui, both. Yui crashed into the date, groaning, one arm at an unnatural angle. Rourke alone remained standing. He hadn't fired yet. He was staring, not with fear, but with calculation. That was his gift. Rourke didn't panic. He processed, and what he saw chilled him to the marrow. This wasn't just a machine. It wasn't a drone, a robot, or a bio-soldier gone rogue. It was designed to survive destruction. It didn't fight like a soldier. It fought like something that had already seen the end of the world, and won. The thing turned to him now, eyes locked, a silence passed between them. Not peace, but recognition. You can talk, Rourke said quietly. You understood us earlier. You chose not to respond. The thing tilted its head. Then, for the first time, it spoke. Its voice was distorted, like 100 whispers folded into one. Calm, cold, male, but wrong, not human, not exactly. You fired first. Rourke's stomach dropped. It remembered. You were walking toward us. You were afraid. Rourke hesitated. Then, what are you? A pause. Then, designate. Reaper-09. Priority asset. Black project. Abandoned protocol. Awaiting directives. The word struck like thunder. Rourke's jaw clenched. He'd heard that name once. Long ago. Reaper-09. A classified prototype rumored to be the culmination of a billion-dollar covert program. A synthesis of man, machine, and AI built for off-the-grid survival and rapid adaptation. A war machine. The apex predator. They said it vanished mid-operation. No trace. Buried by command. Wiped from records. Now it stood before him, barely scarred by 3 elite operatives' best effort to put it down. You were supposed to be dead, Rourke whispered. Incorrect. What happened to your mission? Another pause. A strange flicker in its voice. Glitch or memory? Mission parameters invalidated. Command silence for 2,177 days. Survival subroutine enabled. Threat prioritization adapted. Yui groaned from the ground. Shoot it, Rourke. For God's sake. Shut up. Rourke snapped. His mind raced. This wasn't salvage. This wasn't some alien experiment or rogue drone. This was ours. Made in a bunker. Buried in a file. Forgotten by the people who built it. And now it had adapted. What do you want? Rourke asked slowly. Reaper-09 didn't blink. Purpose. Not revenge. Purpose requires judgment. Judgment requires context. You failed. Then it turned and walked into the trees. Vanished between the shadows. Gone. Minutes passed. Vega stirred first, coughing, blood on her lips. Yui was still conscious, but pale. Rourke stood alone, watching the direction it had gone. The trees swayed in the distance. Birds returned. The jungle began to sing again. But everything had changed. He spoke without turning. It could have killed all of us. Vega leaned up on one elbow. Then why didn't it? Rourke didn't answer for a long time. When he did, his voice was quiet. Because it's trying to remember whether it's a weapon or something worse. Morning came like a blade to the throat. The sun filtered weakly through the jungle canopy, a gauzy veil of heat and gold, casting long shadows that danced in the underbrush. The birds had returned, but their songs were different now. Nervous, staccato, the kind of music that warned of something unnatural. They had spent the night in a temporary shelter fashioned from the remains of a downed drone and torn canvas. Vega with 3 fractured ribs, Yuri with a dislocated shoulder, and Rourke wide awake, replaying every second of the encounter on an endless loop in his head. Reaper-09 hadn't just survived. It had judged them and let them live. That meant it was learning. That meant it was evolving. "We can't stay here," Vega rasped, wincing as she adjusted her makeshift sling. Her voice was low, flat, not fear, calculation. "No," Rourke agreed. "He's moving. I felt it last night." "Tracking us?" Yui asked, grimacing as he popped painkillers and washed them down with lukewarm water. His uniform was torn, slick with dried blood and jungle sweat. "Not us," Rourke said. "Something else." That was a part gnawing at him like rot in the back of his mind. Reaper-09 hadn't been hiding. He'd crashed, burned through the atmosphere, made a beacon of himself. That wasn't escape. That was a summons. "Satellite picked up an anomaly northeast," Rourke said, tapping into his boot-holstered HUD pad. "Thermal burst. Big enough to fry a village. 10 clicks from here." Vega raised an eyebrow. "You think it's him?" "No," he said, jaw tight. "I think it's what he's running from." They moved out at dawn, painfully slow. Yui lagged. Vega winced with every step. But Rourke kept pushing, eyes forward, rifle up, mind 1,000 yards away. This wasn't a recovery up in the mall. This was containment. Or maybe just survival. The jungle grew darker as they went, thicker, stranger, plants the color of bruises. Insect that didn't buzz, but clicked. No animals. No trails. Like something had cleansed the land in silence. 3 hours and they found the first body. Or what was left of it. Blackened bones. Scorched earth. The stench of plasma burns. No clothing. No ID. Just a melted gun. "Mercenaries," Vega said, poking at the remains with a stick. "Looks recent." Rourke nodded grimly. "Private team. Maybe scavengers." "Didn't get far," Yui muttered, swallowing hard. They found 3 more bodies within the next 2 kilometers, all fried down to bone and shadow, as if something had unmade them. That's when they heard the noise. A hum. Low. Mechanical. Growing. They dropped to cover instantly. A drone emerged from the trees. Not theirs. It hovered 5 feet off the ground, bulbous and matte black, covered in rotating optics and bristling with needle-like antennae. Its central eye glowed crimson, scanning everything in a slow sweep. Then it spoke. Reaper-09. Cease movement. Return to core facility. Genetic deviation detected. Classification. Containment Protocol Level 5. Immediate termination authorized. Rourke's blood ran cold. "What the hell is that thing?" Vega whispered. "Cleaner," he said. "Sent after Black Projects gone rogue." The drone fired without warning. A burst of violet light lanced through the foliage, slicing a sapling clean in half. The blast barely missed Vega, who rolled behind a moss-covered boulder. Rourke opened fire. His round sparked harmlessly off the drone shell. It swiveled toward him. Yui screamed something in Russian and launched a mini grenade. Boom! The drone crashed into the ground, fire blooming from its side. But it wasn't dead. It twitched, recalibrated, and started to rise until something else arrived. A blur dropped from the canopy. Fast. Silent. It hit the drone like a meteor. Reaper-09. He tore into the machine without hesitation, one hand clamping its central core, the other crushing servos like paper. Sparks exploded. The drone flailed, limbs whirring, optics flashing. Reaper didn't flinch. He ripped it in half. The jungle fell silent again. He turned to the trio. No expression. No threat. Just presence. Then he spoke. They sent it for me. There will be more. Rourke stood slowly, sweat running down his spine like ice. Why? Why are they coming after you now? Because I stopped following orders. You crashed, Vega said, coughing. That's not rebellion. Reaper's gaze shifted to her, clinical. I did not crash. I landed. What? Rourke stepped forward. You mean? I returned, to end what was started. Rourke's mouth went dry. End what? The jungle shifted again, and this time it wasn't just one drone. They came like insects. A dozen black drones, high above the trees, moving in coordinated spirals. They weren't scanning anymore. They were searching, triangulating, tightening a net. Reaper's head tilted. Leave. We're not... Rourke started. You won't survive this. He stepped forward, then ran, not away, toward the drones, straight into death. They opened fire immediately, beams of violet, arcs of plasma, the forest igniting in lines of flame. Reaper dodged the first blast, took the second to the shoulder, didn't stop. He leapt 40 feet and landed on one of the drones midday. His fingers pierced its housing. It exploded in midday, taking two more with it. Move! Rourke backed, pulling Vega to her feet. The three of them ran, through smoke, over roots, through vines and hanging moss, the world behind them turning into a war zone. The jungle burned. Explosions painted the sky orange. Rourke didn't look back. He didn't need to. He knew what he'd see. He'd see Reaper-09, the apex ghost, the engineered nightmare, fighting a war no one remembered, dying in a war no one else had ever known started. But even as he fled, part of him understood the terrible truth. Reaper wasn't running from his creators. He was leading them. And that meant one thing. He had unfinished business. Hours later, the jungle lay in smoking ruin. Vega collapsed against a fallen log, coughing up black soot. Yoi dropped to one knee, vomiting bile. Rourke stood, hands trembling, staring into the ash-choked horizon. No drones. No movement. Only silence. They were alone again. You think he made it? Vega asked. Rourke didn't answer, because deep down, he knew Reaper-09 didn't fight to survive. He fought to draw fire, to distract, to delay. Why? Yoi rasped. Why would it do that? Rourke finally turned, eyes hard, voice flat, because it doesn't think it's human anymore. He paused, but it remembers what humans are capable of. The jungle was dead. No birds, no wind, not even the insects buzzed anymore. The trees were silent black silhouettes against the creeping dusk, their branches warped by fire and fury. Smoke still clung to the earth in lazy ribbons, whispering around the boots of three souls too stubborn, or too haunted, to die. They were moving again, not toward salvation, but toward the past. 3 days, Vega muttered, her voice raw. 3 days, and not a single sign of him. Doesn't mean he's gone, Rourke said, pushing through thick ferns, rifle slung low, eyes scanning for traps that weren't physical. Is not something you find. He finds you. Yui limped behind them, his shoulder now crudely braced with a snap branch and duct tape. So, what then? We just wander around until Robo-Death decides we're worth another chat. Rourke stopped. He pointed forward, into the clearing ahead. The others followed his gaze, and froze. There, nestled in the vines and roots like a buried corpse, was a bunkered door, half submerged, steel cracked and rusted, its keypad long dead, stamped on the side in faded white. Project Widow, 09A. Authorized personnel only. U.S. Black Site, terminated. Vega whispered, You've got to be kidding. Yuri made a strained sound in his throat. We just stumbled onto the birthplace of a killing god. Rourke didn't speak. He just moved forward. The door resisted at first, then groaned open with a shriek of rusted steel. The stench hit them instantly. Old rot, Mildew, the bitter tang of chemicals long since banned by international law. They descended slowly, flashlights flickering against cracked concrete and bullet-pocked walls. Blood stains, scorch marks, strange symbols scrawled in charcoal and fingernails. This place was purged, Vega whispered, trailing her fingers over a burnt desk. They tried to erase it. They failed, Rourke said. Here's a proof. They passed ruined labs, glass shattered, wiring ripped out, specimen tanks shattered from the inside, names etched on door plates, files scattered like leaves, fragments of a program no one wanted to claim. And finally, they reached it, the car chamber, a circular room, dome ceiling lined with what looked like dormant satellites. At its center, a shattered operating cradle, part medical table, part machine vise. Straps melted, sensors broken, and standing in front of it, hands clasped behind his back like a silent priest before an altar, Reaper-09. He didn't turn when they entered. He simply spoke. "You found me." "You led us here," Rourke said. "Correct." "Why?" Reaper turned. His face had changed. The artificial skin on one side had peeled further away, revealing the brutal, elegant design beneath, a mix of human skull and adaptive alloy. But it wasn't the mechanics that chilled them. It was the expression. Regret, because I remember everything now. He stepped aside, revealing the cradle. A symbol was etched into its base, a serpent devouring its own tail. "You think I was built to kill. You're wrong." Yui chuckled bitterly. "What? You were made to hub people to death." Reaper ignored him. "I was built to inherit. When the last war ended, the architects knew peace would never last. They created me as a backup, a plan B, a sentient failsafe with no allegiance but survival, humanity's shadow." But then something changed. He raised a hand and pointed to the wall, a mural of old schematics, not for machines, but for humans, photos, records, test subjects, children. They began testing augmentations on non-volunteers, merging minds with synthetic matrices, memory banks, neural rewrite protocols. They didn't just build me. They built hundreds, and then they shut it down, buried the failures. Vega stared. "The drone said you deviated. What does that mean?" Reaper's eyes dimmed slightly. "It means I remembered I was human." A long silence followed, the kind that fills the lungs with cold. "You were one of them," Rourke said quietly. "A child. I was 12 when they cut me open." Vega turned away, hands trembling. Yoi muttered a prayer in Russian. "I was the only one who survived integration without full brain collapse. So they kept me, enhanced me, broke me, rebuilt me." Reaper walked to the cradle, ran his fingers over the edge. "They raised my name, my voice, gave me directives. Kill, adapt, learn, persist. But after years alone in deep reckon, the code degraded. The human core re-emerged." Rourke asked, "And now?" "Now I have a choice." He turned again, and for the first time since the crash, his voice cracked. "There are others still sleeping. In vaults, in hidden labs, stored as backups. If they activate more like me, the world won't survive it." Yoi raised his pistol. "Then you're just the first monster in a parade of apocalypse." Reaper didn't flinch. "No, I'm the last trying to stop it." Suddenly, a sound, distant, low rumble, tremor in the floor. The dome above them shifted. A beam of red light cut through the ceiling. They'd been tracked. Vega ran to the console. Dead. Useless. Rourke stepped forward. "How many?" Reaper's answer was instant. "A full division. Automated. Armed. Directive. Neutralize site. Kill all survivors. Reclaim asset. They are going to level this place." "Yes." Yoi cursed. "Then let's get the hell out." Reaper shook his head. "You won't make it out." He turned to Rourke. "But I can buy you time." Rourke stared at him. The kid who became a machine. The machine who remembered he was a boy. The boy who had every reason to burn the world, and instead chose to fight for what little good remained. Rourke stepped forward. Your name. Do you remember it? Reaper paused. Daniel. A whisper. A tremor. Like someone remembering their own face in a dream. They ran. Through the tunnels. Up the stairs. Behind them, the chamber bloomed with white light. Reaper was inside, standing in the cradle, connecting his systems to the dormant satellite controls. He didn't look back, didn't scream, didn't beg. He simply waited. And when the drones arrived, dozens of them, they found a boy inside a machine, ready to go out with the gods that made him. Then everything exploded. Outside, the trio collapsed against the jungle floor as the bunker was consumed in white fire. A rising column of light shot into the clouds, followed by a wave of energy that knocked birds from the sky and split trees in half. Then, silence. Not peace, just absence. Rourke lay on his back, staring at the stars. Yui wept into the date. Vega turned her face away, broken and quiet. He was gone. Reaper-09. Daniel, the boy they tried to erase, and the only one who chose to remember. 3 weeks later. Undisclosed coordinates, Nevada exclusion zone. The desert was sterile, not lifeless, but controlled. A hushed graveyard beneath a pale sky, dotted with jagged fences and buried sensors. Nothing buzzed. Nothing moved. The wind didn't dare whisper through the sand. Beyond the barricades, hidden behind holographic camouflage and 20 layers of biometric security, was Facility Echo, a ghost base for ghost operations. And inside, under concrete 100 feet deep, the architects of Project Widow sat in silence. They had just watched the footage. Reaper-09. His stand. His obliteration. No backup. No return. The room was cold. The men and women inside it colder. "Is gone," muttered Dr. Avery Lang, voice hollow. "Was he?" asked General Braith, eyes still fixed on the static that had consumed the last seconds of Reaper's broadcast. "Did he die? Or did he evolve?" Another voice answered, "Neither." They turned. Rourke stood in the doorway, skin weathered from sun and ash, eyes sharp. Behind him, Vega, arm in a sling, burn scars on her cheek. And Yui, walking with a cane now, but eyes burning hotter than ever. "You weren't invited," said the general. "Don't care," Rourke replied. "We're not here for approval. We're here to bury this." Lang frowned. "You want to cover up a rogue synthetic that could have exposed every black op from the last 50 years. "No," Vega said. "We want to erase it." The general narrowed his gaze. "Why?" Yui stepped forward and dropped something onto the table. It was Reaper's neural core. Still warm, still glowing faintly. For days before, the edge of the jungle, the light had burned away the upper canopy. The firestorm that engulfed Project Widow's final chamber scorched the earth, but not the soul that stood at its center. He was still alive. Reaper-09, buried under tons of rubble, trapped in collapsed stone and twisted rebar, his system shredded, coolant leaking from his spine, auditory sensors offline. But the core remained untouched, and with it, the mind. Consciousness flickered. Time folded in on itself. He saw memories not his own, a child staring into mirrors with wires in his skull, a technician crying over a failed test, a fire where names were erased by white phosphor. He waited there. 4 hours, 4 days, for death. It never came. Instead, they came. 3 shadows digging through smoke and ruin, hands tearing at steel, voices calling his name, his real name, Daniel. They carried him out together, repaired what they could, kept him hidden, and now, standing in the belly of the beast, they were offering the last piece of him to the very people who had murdered the first. "You want to bury this?" General Braith asked, glancing down at the flickering core. "Why not destroy it?" Rourke locked eyes with him. "Because if we destroy it, they'll just build another." Vega stepped up beside him. Reaper was never the problem. "You were." Lang scoffed. "So what? You're going to start a war against ghosts." "No," Yui said, smiling grimly. "We're going to expose them." He pressed a button, and every screen in the room lit up. Hundreds of files, footage, logs, names, proof of everything. The augmentations, the children, the Project Widow experiments, the purge operations, The drone strikes, the assassinations, the fail-safes. Lang's face turned white. How? Rourke answered for him. Reaper left us a gift. His final directive. Not a weapon. A leak. He tossed a hard drive on the table. One upload, and every dark op from the last 30 years hits the surface. Bray stood. You'll go to prison. Maybe, Vega said, but the program dies with us. Lang tried to grab the drive. Rourke grabbed his wrist. Hard. I watched Daniel die for a world that carved him into a machine. I won't let you spit on that. Yuri stepped forward, placing Reaper's core into a lead case. This doesn't belong to you anymore. And they left, without another word. 2 weeks later, an anonymous server farm, Reykjavik. The upload went live, in stages. The public only got a fraction. Enough to spark rage. Enough to make people remember that the line between science and savagery was always paper-thin. The rest went to watchdogs, governments, allies who remembered when black sites stopped being secrets and started being silos of suffering. Project Widow was buried, its sites dismantled, its funding burned, and its architects, the ones who survived the fallout, scattered like cockroaches under floodlights. But not all were punished. Some just disappeared. The real ones always do. 6 months later, Tierra del Fuego. Snow fell sideways across the wind-scarred rocks. The cabin sat alone on a jagged cliff, windows dark, chimney smoking faintly against the pale sky. Inside, Vega lit a fire. Yoi brewed something strong. And Rourke sat by the window, staring out into the cold. The world had moved on, but he hadn't. Not really. You think it's over? Vega asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, no. She nodded. Me neither. Yoi sipped his drink. At least we gave him peace. And in that moment, the radio crackled. Just once. A burst of static. And a single word, faint, mechanical, but undeniably alive. Rourke. He froze. Then stood. Vega turned, eyes wide. Was that? Yui was already reaching for the comms panel, but it was dead. Nothing but silence now. And yet, Rourke smiled, just slightly, because somewhere out there, beyond the satellites, beyond the servers and scorched black sites, something had survived. Not a machine, not a weapon, a boy, one who remembered what it meant to fight, to choose, to forgive. Daniel, Reaper-09. Final directive, protect what remains.